Alright guys, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you a couple tips and tricks to help make the coloring process of this form project go a little bit smoother, go a little bit easier for you guys. If you're following along with the worksheet that I gave you, I'm going to hit up a bunch of tools, or almost all of them, so that might be a good reference to follow along with, and in this video I'll show you where all those are found and how they work. Okay, so before I get started, remember we are coloring in our line drawings, whether you hand drew them or you downloaded a drawing. We're going to color them in with form, meaning we're going to create shadows and highlights using different shades of colors to give that three-dimensional effect. So follow along, you'll kind of see how that comes together. I'm not going to color in the whole thing right now, but I'm going to show you some tools as quickly as I can. So the first thing I want to point out is the lock symbol. Whenever you load in a layer and it's the only layer you got, it's going to be locked down here. So it's simply just clicking on this lock symbol and it goes away. And now we can start editing, right? And so after you do that, the second thing I want you to do is create a blank layer. This is really important, and it's just down here. It's a little piece of paper, and if we click on this, we'll create a blank layer with nothing on it. And what this allows us to do is to color on a separate layer so that we keep the color and the lines separate. If we were to color on the same layer, we could damage the original layer, so we like to keep those separately, and you'll kind of see why in a second. So now that I got that, I can pretty much start coloring here. If I were to start coloring, I can try to stay inside the lines as best as I could, but you're going to notice that I'm going to basically cover up all the lines that are on the inside too, which doesn't really help. And so I'm just going to do a rough job here, even though I'm covering up stuff, because the next tip I'm going to show you is how to blend your color with your lines. So check this out. Do a quick little job here. I know I'm doing a messy job, but it really doesn't matter right at this point anyway. So yeah, I'll just do half of them for now, right? So I've done a rough job. My base color is in there, just my foundation color. But basically, we're going to use a blend mode. And we've talked about this very briefly in the past, but now we're really going to talk about its strengths. And we're hanging out here in the layers panel a lot, so let's get familiar with this. But basically, our blend modes are right up here. It says normal by default, and it's a long list of different things we can use, different methods of blending things together. And instead of overwhelming you with a bunch of information, let's just learn about multiply first, okay? And so we're going to click multiply, and check this out. Now we can see both the lines and the color. What just happened was that multiply will disregard, it will kind of cancel out all the lighter areas in a picture and just keep all of the darker areas. So in this case, it's ignoring the white space and keeping all the dark lines. And so it's exactly what we want. And so now I can continue coloring if I wanted to and get the rest of the job done. So now I'm just going to do a super sloppy job, because the next tip I'm going to show you is how to get rid of all of this bleed space. So that's what we call this. Anything that goes over a line is called bleed. So we're going to get rid of that with just like a simple couple clicks of a button. So check this out. We're going to use something called a layer mask. This is also on your paper, and it's down here in this button right here. But before we click on it, we got to do one more thing. We're going to use the magic wand tool, and I'm going to turn off my colors for now and select my my line drawing, and I'm going to go over here to my tools, and it's the fourth button down. If you don't see the magic wand tool, just click and hold, and then we will see the magic wand tool right here. Okay, so if you remember the quick selection tool, it allowed us to cut pieces out when we created the album cover and things like that. It allows us to cut things out. So this is similar, but works a little different, and it works with solid colors. We have a solid white here. So we're going to click in this blank area, this blank white area on the outside, And now we got the dotted line, just like the selection. This is called a selection, and what it's got right now is everything around the outside of our image because I clicked on the outside of my image. And it's also got the border here of our entire image because it's telling me that it has all of this white space on the outside selected. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a layer mask. And what a layer mask does is it takes everything that's inside of a selection, which is our white space right now, and hides it. I'm sorry, no, it keeps it and hides everything else. So if I were to click the layer mask right now, it's going to keep all the white space and hide my lines, my character, and that's the opposite of what I want it to do. So real quick, follow along with me. We're going to go up to select, and we're going to choose inverse. And what that means is it's just going to flip it. So now you can see I don't have the dotted line around the edges anymore, but it's still over here hugging the outside of my character. And what this is telling me now is that it has everything that my character is. Everything that's, all the lines are selected now and not the outside. It just flipped it. And so now we can create our layer mask. And instead of creating it on here, we're going to create it on the color because the color is what needs to be kind of helped out right now. And you'll see how it works in a second. So turning the color back on, clicking on the color layer, and choosing this layer mask. Check this out. Boom. It just got rid of all of the outside area. And let me explain real quick how that worked. We got this new part of our layer now that shows us what is within selection. The black area is representing everything that's being hidden right now, and the white area is showing us everything that is showing, obviously. And so, click on this red part, and I'm going to finish coloring in. Where's my brush? Finish coloring this in. I got a couple little edges here that I can fix. All right, you can see if I'm coloring here, it's not going to let me color outside the lines because I have the mask on. So that's it. Now you're kind of ready to finish the coloring job. And so I'm going to grab a darker red to kind of create some shadows here just to show you. And if I were to continue, I could create a darker red underneath the tentacle here, which would cast a shadow, and down in here as well. So keep things in mind of where the shadows and where the highlights might be. And eventually we're going to put a background behind this and kind of finish it all up and with a nice touch. But for right now, let's just finish the coloring process. The last thing I want to point out is the eraser. If you have any extra spaces in here, like in between the tentacles, you're going to have to erase those manually like this. So you might want to zoom in and get really close and do a good job there. But besides that, hopefully these tools will kind of help things go a little easier. Now you don't have to worry about getting so close to the line. It will automatically keep it within the lines for you. Let me know if you have any questions in class. Rewatch this video as many times as you need to. I know it was a long one. I know there was a lot of steps. That's why I made the video. Alright, so have a good day, guys. See you later. Have fun.